I've been more than a little impressed with Wolfgang Warsch's designs this year. Prior to 2018, he had only 2 published games, neither of which seemed to get any attention from the game industry, so he was a nobody coming out of nowhere with 4 designs at once. Who is this guy? And yet, incredibly, 3 of those games have had a huge impact, running for major awards in Germany, with licensed editions all over the place, and lots of people talking about them, such as yours truly. The 4th game did not get as much attention. Illusion, a card game from NSV that kind of plays like Timeline with colors. It's like an op art puzzle challenge. It's gone over great with kids at school. I take it to my son's school and the game club. They've had a blast with it. Also from NSV, The Mine was nominated for Spiel des Jahres, losing to Azul. I've written more than 3,000 words about The Mine. I've talked about it nonstop on videos. I think about it still all the time, and I'm somewhat amazed at how good this design is at presenting a gameplay experience unlike anything else that I've run across. That is what sticks with me most. I know lots of people don't like it or don't even consider it a game, whatever. The experience of playing it is unique and new. And again, that's something valuable when you can put that in a game. You also have from Schmidt, Die Quacksalber von Quedlinburg, the only large game from Warsch. This is a potion brewing game, lots of little combinations going on, which won Kennerspiel des Jahres award, beating out his own Ganz schön clever. Also from Schmidt, this is a roll and write dice game where you get to do lots of fun things with the dice and try to make combos and just rack up lots of points that way. Now, relevant to this video, this is part of Schmidt's Klein and Fine series, which is a small and fine game series. You get the pun there. It sort of loses something in English. This series started in 2016 with Nakmal from Inka and Marcus Brand, also a roll and write game, and now it's continuing in the second half of 2018 with a new title from Warsch called Brikks, which, if you look at this cover, I think you get what this is right away. You see falling polyominoes. Oh, this is a tabletop Tetris style roll and write. And there you go. That's all you need to know, right? If you do want to see a little more, watch me play. Here are the components in Brikks. You have a gamepad with each player getting their own sheet of paper. You have 2 dice that we'll set aside from now. Each player gets a pen, a plastic chip, and a score sheet. You can take a finished one from an earlier game if you want, or you just rip one off and flip it over. And these are the pieces that you will be placing into your grid. So how we play, we're going to pretend we have 2 people. At the start of the first round, each player chooses a piece in the left-hand column. So my opponent will choose first, because I'm going to be the first player. Let's say they choose this, and then I'm going to choose one of them as well. And you draw it, just like you're dropping it in the grid, a la Tetris. And so if I pick this yellow L, I drop it down, and it falls to the bottom of the screen. Doomph. You are trying to fill rows with the bricks, and if you do, you will score points. You are also trying to cover these energy dots with bricks of the same color in order to collect energy, which give you some bonuses as you play. On the turn, you are going to roll the color die and the D4 as the active player, and I get a yellow 4. So if I want, I can have everybody in the game put this piece somewhere, dropping it from their grid onto the bottom of their playing area. As the active player, if you don't like that, you get 1 free reroll, and you must reroll both dice. That does nothing for me. So, okay, green 4. That is slightly better. Sure, we'll take that. So I X off that shape. If you want, you can outline it so you keep track of what bricks are falling where, just for a visual indicator of how things look. And now the next player goes. They roll the dice. Gonna let them choose whatever. They choose something. You can look and see what the other player is doing and see if that will affect them negatively. Or, of course, you can just focus solely on what you're doing. With more players, of course, you tend to focus more on yourself. The game is for 1 to 4 players, and with 4 players, you start with 4 energy in your reserve. With 3 players, you lose one of those, you have only 3 energy. With 2 players, as in my Fate game here, you start with only 2 energy. What you can do with the energy Well, there's two things. You can spend 1 energy to move the chip 1 space left or right. So I can spend 2 energy and I can move it over here, but I need to only spend 1, which I will do by Xing this out. And now I place this brick instead of this one, regardless of what the other people do. So I'll put this one in here and can X out this. Okay, good. Now it's my turn again. Roll. Wait, 2. Perfect for my example of what I'm going to do. Now I get this. You see a white dot with a white brick, and I will cover up that white dot. So I get 2 energy anytime I cover one of those dots with a brick of the matching color. I just circle this space here, which gives me more opportunities for rotating bricks on later turns. In addition, if I can spend 5 energy at once, I can take whatever brick was dropped and replace it with whatever I want. That's a big cost, but it can be very useful. Opponent goes, gets this. Ooh, let's say they choose this one, which would be horrible for me. Where am I going to drop a 4 thing here? Well, let's rotate it. So I get this, I'll spend 1 energy. So now I drop a column and then cover this black energy circle with black. I circle this, and there's some X's on the energy chart. Anytime I circle one of those X's, I cross out the leftmost number on this little bonus bar here. And now instead of scoring a 0-point bonus, I will score a 1-point bonus. Whatever the lowest number is here that's visible, I get that many points at the end of the game. We come back to my turn again. Blue 2. Sure. All right, the opponent goes. Yellow 1. Sure, let's say they choose that. And now I've completed this row. I've X'd out all 10 spaces. And if you do all 10 spaces, you get 5 points, which you write on the side here. If I had only 9 X's, I had missed a space somewhere and could not fill it, then I get only 2 points. And 8 X's is 1 point, and 7 X's or less, nothing, because you don't get rewarded for mediocrity. My turn. Blue 2. Do I want that? I could cover this green with what is not green. Let's re-roll. And a yellow 3. Sure. My opponent goes. And I can even switch this to a 1-player game if you want. With a 1-player game, you don't get re-rolls. You just take whatever you get and put it in there. So let's say it's a 1-player game now, and I get this blue 4. You have another option. I don't really like where I could put that at all. I could put it here, but that's building this pillar, and it's going to be hard to place everything, and so forth and so on. Well, each player also has 3 bombs, and you can use a bomb to not place a brick at all. So you notice these bombs have points, 1, 2, 4. I have just given up 1 point not to have to place this brick. So again, I'll continue now on my 1-player version. I get the exact same thing almost. Fine. I get the blue, I get another X. I gave up those spaces right there. So this is now worth 2 points. This I could still fill. So let's see what I get next. A blue 1. Apparently I have to roll better. 2. And we continue. Now, if you are familiar with Tetris, you know you get bonus points for completing lots of lines at once. You have to set yourself up for it. You have to hope that you get the right brick falling, which is the same case here. I get this column here, which is not great, but I'll put this here. Go again. Green 4. Really don't like that at all, but and we're getting up in the orange zone. The orange zone, now you're going to score double the points for a row. 2, 4, or 10 points, or of course, nothing. For the final row up top, 4 times whatever points you would get. Roll that off the screen. Green 3. You see the solitaire game flies along here. Yellow 2. Let's spend an energy to rotate this, to cover the yellow, to get 2 more. At the end of the game, every 2 energy you have that is not spent is worth a point. So there's 3 points right now, 3 bonus points here, 6 here for the bombs. Oh, this is complete. That's 14 here. And we continue over the course of the game. You have the bombs waiting for you to avoid things that you don't want. You can spend 5 energy to choose the brick that's perfect. If you set things up, let's say I filled all these with X's and I had only this column left. I'm going to do this right now just for demonstrative purposes. Pretend those are all filled. If you complete multiple rows at the same time, you get bonus X's to cross off here on your bonus points at the end of the game. If you complete 2 lines at once, then you get to mark 1 X. If you do 3 lines at once, you get 2 X's. If you do 4 lines at once, which is only possible by dropping this thing, then you get 4 X's. And so you can cross out lots at once and get some huge bonus at the end of the game. So you're shooting for big bonuses for completing lines, lots of energy to get X's and mark off for bonus points. The energy also gives you rotation ability that otherwise you're stuck with whatever you're getting. You got bombs as last-ditch measures, and you're trying to complete lines to get lots of points, such as this top line across here, which you can see an example of a finish game. 68 points, it's fair. Points that I've seen across 6 complete games have ranged from 40 to 85. It varies a lot depending on what you're going to get at each level and what bonuses you're going to get here. That is the huge swing point. And there's an overview of Brikks, which I played 6 times now on a review copy from Schmidt Spiele with 1, 2, and 4 players. The 1-player game is its own thing, just you with a sheet of paper with 2 dice. You roll them, drop that brick. Roll and drop, roll and drop. Trying to figure out everything as best you can. You can take as many risks as you want. You have 3 bombs as backup to get you out of jams. If everything works out perfectly, the grid is 110 squares because it's 11 rows with 10 spaces in each row. Well, you can fit 27 bricks at most with 2 empty squares. And then you got 3 bombs, so 30 turns. The maximum game. You're trying to shoot for that. And of course, you're still going to have 2 squares left over. So to get the highest score possible, you want to try to drop things and then end up with that top row filled, which I have managed to do once, which got me 20 points, which is cool, except my score was only 70 because I didn't get much energy and didn't get much in the way of a bonus score to add to my points at the end of the game, alas. One thing I haven't mentioned yet is you can do Tetris-style tricks in that you can have a ledge and then drop a brick and then slide it underneath as long as everything is set up perfectly for you to do that. If for some reason you wanted to start in a game with the red brick, I'm not sure why you'd want to do that, but let's say you do. You've got this little space here that is unfilled. You can try to fill it, but you have to be able to drop something and slide it in. For example, if the dice come up white 1 with this right here, it's 3 bricks wide, so effectively I could drop it as if it were going to be here and then scoot it to the left. And thankfully, you don't have to work on the timing of that because that was a real issue in Tetris. You had to do it just in time before the brick set and you can no longer move it. And you'll run into trouble because if I then drop this blue one over here, because I'm not playing very well, and then maybe I drop this, well, I can still fill this space here, but the only possibility is going to be with something like this, because I have to be able to drop it down completely, where again it would fill that space right here, and then slide it right. I couldn't use the white one because there's not 3 available spaces in order to slide it down and move it. Or the red one either. And at some point, you're just going to have to start leaving gaps. No matter the player count, you have the ability to drop bricks wherever you want. But strangely, with a solitaire game, I find it easier to complete rows, even though you don't get a reroll. You roll the dice, you get something. Maybe you spend energy to rotate that brick to a new orientation. Well, that's just like the other game. But you kind of have the freedom to leave things open and hope that something magic will come. Or you can build up 5 energy so then you can get the brick that you want. Once you add other players into the game, yes, you on your turn have the ability to re-roll the dice, but so do the other players. And if they're paying attention to what you need, sometimes desperately need, in order to complete multiple rows at the same time or get you out of a jam where you need usually the vertical 4 block, they can stop that from happening. They roll that, maybe it's okay for them, but it's awesome for you. Well, I'm definitely going to re-roll that. And hopefully I just get something else, and well, too bad for you. You just have to live with it. And I see that a lot more when you add more people into the game. People start eyeing others and seeing what's good for them. Some don't. You just play on my own sheet. I do my own thing. I'll drop my bricks. You'll drop your bricks. I won't care so much what happens to you. Right? There you get much more like the Tetris feel, where it's just me working on my own. It's not us going head to head, trying to compete and do better. Maybe I will score better than you, but that's not what it's about. It's just me trying to fill as many lines as possible. Just like the old days when you had the Russian music playing in your head non-stop for hours.